What's up, guys? Welcome to Archer Amplified. I'm Archer. I'll be here every Monday talking to you about my job as a full-time musician and all the hurdles that come along with that. You'll hear about shows, songwriting, and everything that goes on behind the curtain. If you're curious about when I'm playing my shows, make sure you go to archermusicxx.com to check out my show schedule. Also, give me a follow on Instagram and Facebook. Just search Archer Music XX. In the last episode, I interviewed John Wilson, a really good friend of mine and the lead singer in Big Time. In this episode, I'm going to continue my story. One thing I didn't mention was that towards the end of my time in Big Time, I made an EP called Salem Towne, and I'm going to tell you how I did it. So making Salem Towne was really a culmination of different experiences that I had learned throughout the last few years. So I'm going to list those out. Learning garage band in high school, marching band because I was learning the timing of everything. My music production class in college helped a lot, and also learning to ask a million questions from a million different people. And I learned that one from my mom. Okay, you have to ask questions, because if you don't ask questions, you don't learn anything. So, all right, so I'd been using GarageBand, and I wanted to graduate from that. So I asked Mr. Dillon about DAWs and interfaces. So, okay, Mr. Dillon was the mentor from high school that also went to UNCG to teach. Okay, anyway, so DAWs and interfaces, digital audio workspaces and interfaces. So, an interface is what you use to plug a guitar cable, mic cable into, so that you can transfer the sounds coming out of your mouth, out of the guitar, into digital things to go on the computer. You need that. And DAW, Logic Pro X versus Pro Tools. Okay, so Pro Tools is considered the air quote music industry standard. But when I was looking into it, I'd seen a lot of singer-songwriters that are like, oh, Logic is so much easier to use, especially for singer-songwriters and blah, 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 blah. And I really wasn't sure what to do, so I was like, Mr. Dillon, what do I need to invest in? Because it's either, you invest in one thing or you invest in another. Either way, I had to spend money, so I just needed to figure out which one it was. So I learned that with Logic, it was just a one-time payment, and then with Pro Tools, there were like multiple payments. Like it was like a yearly subscription thing. And I didn't want to do that. So Logic was based off of GarageBand. It was just the more professional version. So I was like, obviously Logic is the answer. So I bought Logic, and then I'd had a few interfaces in the past that Mr. Dillon had told me about or let me borrow or whatever, but I needed a new updated one, and I knew nothing about interfaces. So he was telling me about a Scarlett 2i2, which is an interface that I absolutely love now that I know what it does. So basically, you can plug in two things at the same time. So you can do a 1/4-inch cable or guitar cable with an XLR cable or microphone cable. You can do those at the same time. You can do two guitar cables at the same time, two microphone cables at the same time. There's only two inputs, but it houses all of that, so it's pretty cool. All right, Salem Towne. So I had written multiple songs that I wanted to put out, and I thought they were good enough. I'd already been playing around with producing, but to be honest, I didn't know what I wanted my sound to be at the time, so I really was just playing. I'd already produced a good amount of one of the songs I wanted to use, which was Breathe. And when I produced that, I had actually done it in GarageBand for my music production class, and it was my final project. So I loaded that from GarageBand into Logic and updated some sounds and some of the production aspects and made it sound better, fuller, not so beginnery, GarageBand-y, whatever. I'm sure it still sounds beginnery, but, we're learning. You had to start somewhere. So after that, I had written 4 other songs. I had written 3 other songs and then added one more. So I had written Salem Towne, I'd written I Had You, Tonight, and Blue Light. And I actually wrote Blue Light while I was producing some other things and I just needed a break. So I wrote these songs. It took me about 3 months to produce these. I didn't work on it every day, but most days I would work on them. Like I was still, I was still playing shows. I had graduated. I was still in big time. Like all of this stuff was happening while I was in big time. So I didn't know what I was doing. Honestly, I was just pressing buttons and hoping that they sounded okay. I really, really was just playing around with the different sounds and testing things out and trying to figure out how to how to use Logic on a deeper level because it was the level that I knew was very surfacey. So I was using different synthesizer sounds in Logic with my MIDI keyboard. I was learning about quantizing things and quantizing. Quantizing literally means to move and edit precise notes that could be out of time due to humanness. And I mean, that's my definition because humans aren't perfect. And when you record something, everything's not going to be perfectly in time. Like if you are recording a digital drum beat with keys on a MIDI keyboard, your humanness is going to make it pretty inaccurate unless you're just like some insanely good prodigy with timing and you're just very just very good at it, which I'm not, I'm still a human. So uh I can get it pretty close to what it's supposed to be, but then I would have to go in and quantize it, which means to, put it in time. Um it's kind of funny because I did not know until the end of this project that you could just highlight notes and press Q on the keyboard for it to automatically quantize. I was actually going in manually and moving drum sounds around so that they would be in time. And let me tell you, so all of this was done before my stage name changed. So before this, I was Brittany Davis, and now I'm Archer. So I was, if you want to go look it up, go look up I Had You. That one has the most drums in it, and that one I had spent the longest amount of time on because drums, and I'm really not that great at drums. Drums is not my forte. It's rhythm, okay? So I was really just like scraping, just trying to figure it out, and there are so many drum sounds and so many. Oh, I manually moved every single sound. So if you go listen to it, every little beat, every little snare, hi hat, crash cymbal, I clicked on it with my mouse. It was a lot. It took a long time, and I really could have just highlighted it all and pressed Q. But the more you know, the more you know now. So finally, I'd finished working on all of these songs, and they were finished to my standards, but I really did not know what to do next. I'd gotten some of my music friends, to listen to my stuff and give me feedback, kind of what needs to be fixed here, what needs to make it fuller, what do I need to do to make it more commercial sounding or better or whatever. And this was all, before the mixing and mastering. So, yeah. My dad is or was the local photographer for the Chatham News and knew basically everybody, and everybody knew him. So my dad said that there was a band based out of our hometown called New Blue, and the couple heading it, Daniel and Carolyn Ruth, had a studio, and Daniel would know what to do with it. And for me to just go ask him, what he thought I needed to do. And I'm like, still shy at this point. Like for me, it's hard to just go up to someone and be like, "Hey, I'm doing this. Help." It's really hard for me, and it was hard. It was really hard at the time. So I was really, really nervous about meeting with him. My dad had told me that they were actually playing downtown at that point. So New Blue is actually a bluegrass band, and they tour, and they're just like super talented, super dope bluegrass band, and yeah. So I walked up to him at one of their shows, and I was so nervous. I had my dad walk up there with me and introduce me, and I was, oh my gosh, why do I get so nervous about meeting people? I got nervous about Johnny. I got nervous about the band in big time, and now I'm getting nervous about meeting Daniel. So, so I talked to him and I was like, hey, I have these songs. I don't really know what to do now. I know that you're setting up and you're really busy, but I just need 2 seconds for you to tell me what I need to do. So he ended up telling me to email him some of the things that I had, and we swapped numbers so that we could talk about it. And then, yeah, so I emailed him the stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, I can help you with this. We can work on this together." And I'm like, "Okay, thank goodness." But like, thank goodness Daniel said he would work with me on it, because I really had nowhere else to turn. I didn't know who to ask. I didn't know anything. Literally nothing at this point. So, he taught me about a different DAW called Cubase that he used to record, and I had to figure out how to move things from Logic to Cubase, and that's like a whole different thing. Like, you have to make sure everything is together in the same time, because if you like export it or whatever and share it to, or send it to Cubase, it's gonna be all at a time and all out of ugh. It's just a whole mess if you don't just go ahead and line up everything and make sure there's no empty spaces in your tracks. It's not it, yeah. So that's what I had to learn how to do, which I didn't know how to do at the time. And for the next few months, I was at Daniel and Carolyn's studio learning how to record a different way. So I actually learned so much from them. I learned the significance of a balance of high end and low end sound, the essence of mixing. Like, there's a lot to mixing. And I did not understand at the time why they were mixing and mastering engineers, but now, having, kind of been around it, I totally 100% understand why there is a person that is specifically for mixing and mastering. Like, when you listen to the same song for a million times for like a month, your ears get pretty used to hearing what's being played. So it's always good to have someone else come in and mix and master it, because, like, one, that's a whole different skill from producing, and two, like, sometimes you just end up being tired of hearing the song. So it's also good to take time away from it, and to come back to it, to listen to it and see what you need to add and whatever. And that's something else that I learned. So I also learned a lot about EQing, and making things, bringing up the high end parts versus the, lowering the low end parts if you want to hire a thing focused on higher, frequencies, and learning other types of effects that I could use on things to make them sound better, clearer, different. Also, plugins. I did not know what plugins were until I worked with Daniel and Carolyn. Plugins are basically something that it's like a third party. So let's say I'm using Logic. You can download and install a plugin on your computer and use, sounds from that or things from that to be able to manipulate the sounds a little further, a little deeper than what your DAW can do. And I didn't know that that was a thing. Like, they have reverb plugins, they have tremolo plugins. It's, to me, I'm going to explain it the way that I know how. So you have a guitar and you have guitar pedals, and the different pedals have different sounds that make your guitar sound different. And so that's kind of what plugins are. Plugins are like guitar pedals on a pedal board. To me, that's just kind of what they are, and that's how I understand them. What I learned most from Carolyn was conveying emotions when you're recording. And I remember that she came in one time when I was recording Tonight, and I ended up recording it a few times because she's like, "No, that's not enough. You need to put yourself in that place." And at that point I didn't understand what, putting yourself in that place meant, but it literally means putting yourself in a mental state that is similar to what it was like whenever you were writing the song. Or like, if it's about a character, putting yourself in that character's point of view and feeling those feelings and conveying them through your voice, because they can't see your facial expressions. They can only hear your voice when they're listening to the song. You know what I mean? So I learned that from Carolyn, and I'm still using that advice today. And it has helped me so much with writing now and recording now with, what I've been doing. Honestly, I learned a lot from Daniel and Carolyn, and I am forever thankful for them. They are so talented in what they do, and I'm very happy to call them friends now. And you guys, go make sure that you check out New Blue and their music. I grew up listening to some bluegrass, and that's just kind of like where we're from, South and bluegrass. So, yeah, make sure you go check out New Blue and listen to their stuff, because they're really talented and they're really cool people. In the next episode, I'm actually going to be doing a product review on a plugin called Fold from Delta Sound Labs, and I'm really excited because it will be my first product review that I've ever done. So, y'all make sure you stay tuned and go look up archermusicxx.com. Go listen to my song Colors online. It's on iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, and go follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Just search Archer Music XX. Thanks for listening.